think I was a pioneer. I mean, that I was born in the 40s, in the middle of the war, so there weren't a lot of opportunities and you weren't encouraged, and you just felt you had to find the right man, have a family, become a separate wife. So I think that I was a trailblazer. I do think I was a pioneer, and I think there's a good story to tell. So I left school at 15 and went to work in a wool firm called Elder Smith, and that was the place to work in the 50s because wool was £1 a pound, they used to call it. We were riding on the sheep's back, and I even got a ticket to go to the Bushwhackers Ball, which was the prime event. And then I went to work for Wally Campbell, who was in those days a barrister, a charming man. He went on to become the Chief Justice and then the Governor of Queensland. So he was my first mentor. I just hero worshipped him and learnt an awful lot and felt that I could have studied law. I mean, I just loved it. Instead, I married a lawyer and then had 3 children by the time I was 24. So I stayed at home for the first decade, and then I felt I should do something else with my life. Of course, doing English and fine arts, I wasn't studying anything that would be job ready. I never intended to work. I just wanted to finish my education. So I went and enrolled. So after first year, they said to me, "You should be doing honours." And I said, "Oh, listen, don't get too serious about this. It just beats basket weaving." Anyway, I loved it as a mature age student. Everything was going swimmingly until 1975. It was right at the time that Whitlam was dismissed. So I was also dismissed by my husband, and I was suddenly at home with 3 children, and so I needed to do something. Well, maybe I could become a teacher. So I rang the education department and they said, "Oh, English teachers, there are bob a dozen. What else can you do?" And I said, "Well, I used to be a very good secretary. I could do typing, shorthand and bookkeeping. We'll grab you tomorrow as a commercial teacher." So I sort of thought to myself, I think I could do this for myself. I could open my own college. I wasn't in my right mind. I was in such a state of shock and disbelief, the things that had happened to me, which is a good time to do things, I think, because it's like being on the Titanic that's going down and someone pushes you from behind and says, "For goodness sake, get in that boat," before, So I got in the boat before I knew what was happening, and it was in my mind that I was going to do this. It never ever occurred to me that I wouldn't succeed. It was an exciting time starting in 1976 because you were a pioneer. You had to break new grounds. I had no training in teaching, which I think was good because I probably did things that you weren't supposed to. I had to borrow money, which women couldn't do in 1976. You had to have your husband guarantee you. So if a woman went along to borrow money, no one would give it to them. I went to several banks, no. Finally, I was so lucky, and the Bank of New Zealand had just opened in Brisbane. And they were desperate for clients. So I went in. To my amazement, they gave me the money. So I think I borrowed $40,000, which was a huge sum in 1976. I did all the teaching myself, and I only had 3 students when I started. I started in October of 1976. But by Christmas, with everyone leaving school, I was up to 90. The only things I taught in those days were shorthand typing and bookkeeping and grooming. I'd been a model, did a little bit of modelling in my teens, and I believed that to be successful, you needed to have the skills, but you also needed to have the persona. The other thing I did, I opened an employment agency that none of the other training institutions had. There was no one else doing it, nobody. At its height, my college was the largest provider of students in Queensland. I had colleges in Brisbane, and then I opened in Cairns as well. 4,000 bodies to process, if you like, every year. And I had several hundred staff as well. It was big and I was honoured for that. So Business Queensland named me in the top 400 companies in Queensland, and we were always the #1 training provider in Queensland. So the 80s were the most exciting decade to be in, for me anyway. Expo 88 happened in the 80s, and I was so excited to win the tender to do the staffing for World Expo 88. And the reason I wanted it was to get jobs for my students. It wasn't because of the money I'd make out of it. I didn't even care if I made money. I just saw a huge opportunity to place the students. Oh, what it meant. It was like the biggest recruitment drive since the last World War, I thought. There were 3,500 people over the 6 months of the Expo. So these are the uniforms from World Expo 88. They were designed by Prue Acton. From that, I became a household name. So everybody had heard about Lorraine Martin. Enormous joy. It was the world's biggest party. That 6 months of Expo was, I think, put Queensland on the map. And I was part of it. What an honour that was. So the other thing that happened was there were no women on boards. So suddenly people felt they should employ some women on board. So I started to get board appointments. Of the boards and committees that I was on, somewhere between 30 and 40, I'd say. So I think someone counted them at 38. So I was a busy girl. And only woman I'd be the only woman with about 100 men. And I never felt out of place, actually. I didn't feel scared. So the first one I went on was Austrade, which I loved because I was the first woman on Austrade board. And so how exciting for me, again, to be a pioneer in this area. So I was invited by Austrade to go on their very first marketing trip aboard. That's when I realised I wasn't just competing against the Brisbane market, I was competing against the world. And the other thing I realised very quickly was I would have to start an English language centre. There were none in Queensland. Certainly in the private sector, I started the first, which was called Queensland English Language Centre, QELC. And I opened that up in Edward Street, and it was very successful. Something else happened in the 80s as well. In 1986, I was invited to open a chapter of Les Femmes Chefs d'Entreprise Mondiale, which means the World Association of Women Entrepreneurs. It's now full of princesses. It's full of the top women in the world, the Gucci's, the Pucci's, you name it, I've met them all. I got together with the top business women in Queensland at the time, and we started a chapter of Women Chiefs, and it's grown from there. And all the time we have been supporting each other, helping each other, networking, mentoring. I love entrepreneurship. I find it so exciting when people are in their own businesses and taking a risk and having a go. I'm thrilled that I was a part of mapping out people's business careers. It's exciting for me to meet them, and I do see them all over the place, and see the heights that they've got to. Incredibly, one of my former students is currently Helen Boskill, and she's the Chief Justice of Queensland. And we found her a job at the Inns of Court, working for a barrister as a secretary. And from there, she realised that her real love in life was law. And so she studied to be a barrister. And then, went up the chain, and she's now the Chief Justice. She's loved the fact that she still uses her shorthand, finds it very valuable, and she types up all her own depositions. So, they're everywhere. So I'm very proud of the legacy that I've left. It's vitally important for me to continue to mix with business women and to help them and mentor them and rejoice in their successes, because I'm not doing it anymore and I miss it. So by mentoring, by networking, you boost them on, have a go. And so I love it, yes. I think that you're somebody who should have gone out on their own years ago. My #1 advice to women is to be kind to other women. look, the more you share, the more you give away, more comes back to you. So I say to them, be generous by going on boards, charity boards, by sharing your business success through mentoring. It'll come back to you in spades. Yes, I look back now in retirement at what I've done, and I am incredulous. I don't know how on earth I did it. I think it's like somebody running a marathon. You don't think when you're doing it, what am I doing? It's later you think, how the heck did I do that? I feel very satisfied with what I've done in this life. Very happy, very honoured and joyful that these things have been offered to me.